Hey guys, my name's Phil, and welcome to the Basketball Journey. For this episode, we'll be taking a look at 5 players who are having breakout seasons during the 2020-2021 NBA season. I'm not talking about the elite guys, like Luka Doncic, or Giannis, or LeBron James, or Trae Young. I'm talking about the guys who we didn't expect to have breakout seasons. The guys who came out of nowhere, or have vastly improved their numbers from the previous season. And by the way, these 5 players that I'm about to talk about, they're listed in no particular order. It's not based on skill level or who I like best. We're just talking about 5 breakout players. The first player I'll be talking about is Portland Trail Blazers guard CJ McCollum. Everyone knows CJ to be a big scoring threat for the Blazers, but this season he's been able to take his scoring attributes to career high levels. In just 13 games so far this season, CJ's been averaging 26.7 points along with 5 assists a game. Both of these are career highs compared to last season where CJ averaged 22.2 points and 4.4 assists in 70 games. This is a huge difference. Unfortunately for CJ, the Blazers just announced that he had a hairline fracture in his left foot, which will cause him to be out anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks. Upon CJ's return from this foot injury, I do expect him to get back to the numbers he was playing at. For the Blazers, especially in a year where they are struggling in a stacked Western Conference, they need to rely on CJ and, of course, Damian Lillard to carry a lot of the scoring load for them. And if they want even a chance to get into that play-in tournament, to get that 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs, they need CJ to return back to the form he was at. The next player on my list is Toronto Raptors forward Chris Boucher. And let me tell you a little something about Chris Boucher. This guy has absolutely been the breakout star for the Toronto Raptors this season. Even though Chris was on the championship squad in 2019, and last season he saw a little bit of playing time in the Orlando bubble, the Raptors didn't use him enough, and he was very underutilized. He was considered a nobody in the league, but in Orlando, we saw a little bit of a glimpse of hope for Chris. With the recent struggles the Raptors have been having at that center position this season, Chris has just been taking the charge being the center, but he is not starting yet. He's coming off the bench, but his numbers are off the charts in terms of what the expectations were for him coming into the season. In 13 games so far this season, Chris has been posting 16.1 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks a game, which are all career highs. That's up from last season where he just played in 62 games, averaged 6.6 points and 2.7 rebounds, and 1 block. One of the most impressive stats, though, this season are his shooting percentages. He's currently shooting 69% from the field and 46% from the three-point line as a 6'11 forward. You think of big, strong guys, but Chris, he's built a little different. Not only do I expect the production to continue for Chris because the Raptors need it, I expect him to win the Most Improved Player award this season for the NBA. Now, full disclosure, I'm from Toronto. I'm a diehard Raptors fan. So I'm just going to leave you with a little note from one of our broadcasters here in Toronto, Jack Armstrong, talking about Chris Boucher. The next player we'll be talking about is Detroit Pistons forward Jeremy Grant. Now, I think everybody expected Jeremy to have a pretty good season this year, especially after signing a massive 3-year, $60 million contract with the Pistons. But I don't think anybody expected Jeremy to have the season that he's having right now. In just 13 games for the Pistons so far, he's averaging 24.9 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks a game, which are crazy stat lines compared to his numbers from last season. Last season, he played for the Denver Nuggets, which lost in a 5-game series to the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, but they did push the LA Clippers, which was the team that everybody expected to get there to play the Lakers, to a 7-game series, and they defeated Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the rest of that squad. Jeremy was a big part of coming off the bench for that Denver Nuggets team. He was kind of like the heart and soul for the Nuggets that season, behind Jokic and Jamal Murray. But his numbers last season, he averaged 12 points, 3.5 rebounds in 71 regular season games, and his numbers actually took a little dip in the playoffs where he just averaged 11.6 points and 3.3 rebounds in 19 games. The Pistons obviously saw something in Grant to offer him that massive contract, but he is playing up to that contract as of right now. He's putting up all-star caliber numbers, and in all honesty, if you play fantasy basketball, he's probably a stud you might want to get on your team. I fully expect Jeremy to continue the production on the Pistons, and with Detroit's record not being too good, it's looking like all the offense is going to be running through Jeremy Grant for the foreseeable future. The next player we'll be talking about is New York Knicks forward Julius Randle. Now, to everyone's surprise this season, the Knicks are actually playing pretty good basketball, posting a 7-8 record in 15 games. They're actually 6th in the East, and they're ahead of Miami and Toronto, who aren't even in the playoffs right now, and they're normally Eastern Conference powerhouses. I think Tom Thibodeau, who's the head coach of the Knicks, will make sure that they get into the playoffs, or at least fight for contention come the playoff race and come the play-in tournament at the end of the regular season. As of this season, Randall's averaging 22.8 points, 11 rebounds, and 6.1 assists per game, making him basically a triple-double threat night in and night out for the Knicks. His stats compared to last season, which were 19.5 points a game, 9.7 rebounds, and 3.1 assists a game in 64 games played last season, isn't that big of a difference. The really big difference, though, is those stats last season were basically empty numbers because the Knicks were at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Now Julius's stat line are accounting for the Knicks' success in the Eastern Conference, and they're actually playing good basketball for once. The final player we'll be talking about is Indiana Pacers guard Malcolm Brogdon. The Pacers, who are currently 8-5 this season and sitting in 4th place in the Eastern Conference, have been playing surprisingly well under rookie head coach Nate Bjorkgren. Malcolm is averaging 22.2 points, 7.5 assists, and 1.8 steals in 13 games this season. That's way up from last season's stats of 16.5 points, 7.1 assists, and 0.6 steals a game. Malcolm has turned into a legitimate 3-and-D player, and with TJ Warren, Miles Turner, and Karis LeVert, who was recently acquired in that massive James Harden transaction, who will all be out for an extended period of time, Malcolm is the key on the offensive and the defensive end for the Indiana Pacers and will be carrying a lot of the load going forward for them. So those are my 5 guys that I've designated as the 5 breakout stars so far for the NBA this season. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like it, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys at the next video.